Hey guys, welcome to this week's video. I know this isn't the video I promised, which was the small business / art vlog, but that is taking way longer than I thought it would to film and edit. There's just like a lot of stuff going on. I don't want to cut anything out. I want to show you guys the whole experience of just me opening my shop. But it is open right now, so this is a little surprise before the video comes out. It is open. You can buy things. Not everything is up there yet, so you might want to wait, but stuff is available for purchase. But since it's taking so long and I'm really trying to push a video out every week, I have a little draw with me video. When I do art, I love to watch videos by Christina Leray, Likelihood Art, just a bunch of artists. I think one of their names is AUP. I can never say it right. But I just love to watch artists drawing in real time. I love speed arts, but it's also so nice to just feel like someone's drawing with you. So I thought I'd try my hand at that. I'm currently watching true crime while I film this. So I kept trying to hide the video with my hand, but I also had to keep on pushing it out of the way because I had to get to the settings to switch from my brush to my eraser and then change brush sizes. So it's a whole thing. Just ignore that. Ignore that that's happening. But yeah. This piece is inspired by a base I seen on Pinterest. I'll insert the photo. I did not use the base just because I don't use bases, which I'm totally in support of using bases, by the way. I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's bad. If you use bases, you're stealing from artists. Artists don't post bases on the internet, on DeviantArt and Pinterest, if they don't want you to use them. 1 and 2, using bases is a great way to boost your creativity, and if you need training wheels to get into art, I'm in full support of using bases. I used bases way back when I was making My Little Pony fan art, which we don't talk about anymore and we'll never talk about again. But anyway, tangent aside, this piece is inspired by my new shop, kind of. I was talking to my aunt who likes to consider herself a business manager, and she was talking about how all of my characters are kind of in the same pose, and I do agree. It's gotten really better as of recent, but I used to always say I felt like all of my characters looked like they were getting their ID photos or mugshots taken, because they're just all staring straight into the quote-unquote camera with a vacant expression. And so I've been trying to really change that as of recently. Also, I hosted that that short form video on TikTok, Instagram, and here to ask people, do you think I have same face syndrome? Literally 90% of people said yes. People were way nicer on YouTube than on either of the other two platforms, but the overall consensus was that I had same face syndrome. So I'm trying to make faces look different. It's hard. It's really hard. It's so difficult to make a face look different, because the second, and this happens with me in when I'm playing The Sims too, I change one thing and I'm like, no, I hate that, and then I go back to how I was doing it. I need to stop doing that. It's really difficult though. But it's inspired by my shop. I wanted to try something new, so I have this character sitting on the floor. I'd been watching a lot of videos on how to improve your art and stuff like that, because it's fun to learn. And something I've always wanted to do, but I don't really do it with my art, is add dimension to the hair. Add streaks going through it, add big sections. I kind of just draw the silhouette of the hair and then fill it in with a color and then call it a day. So I've been trying not to do that because I want my art to look good. So I'm just trying to experiment, I guess. Experiment, and if you don't step out of your box, then your art's always going to remain the same, and you can't improve if you just stay exactly where you are. So I've been changing a few things about my art recently. I think it's mostly due to insecurity. I think I look at other people's art and I'm like, that looks good. And then I look at my art and I'm like, why doesn't this look good when I spend so long trying to make it look good? And, you know, you shouldn't do that. It's not healthy, one would say, to spend 12 hours on an art piece only to scroll through your Instagram Explore page and then think your art piece sucks. Don't do that. Don't be me. Be secure and confident in your art, unlike me, who always has to strive to keep up with everyone else. Anyway, let's not talk about that anymore. So something I did with this piece outside of the hair is I cut the eyes down a little bit. I always draw like these huge ginormous eyes, and these are still big, but like fun fact, people used to tell me I drew my eyes big all the time when I first started, and it's still like the main critique I get to this day. For some reason, like, people don't know what character illustration is, but whatever. And I was always like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, you know, I'm a character illustrator, it's meant to look, you know, dramatic and exaggerated. But when I tell you, like, a few months ago, I went back to my old art because I wanted to find a piece to recreate. Fish eyes. Like, geez Louise, like, they are the hugest things I've ever seen. It's kind of like that moment, like, you just look back and you're like, oh, you know, maybe everyone had a point, because this is ridiculous. But I don't know, do you? I've always been inspired by, obviously, my muse, Christina Loray, and then also Brad's dolls. You know, I love making things look cartoony and exaggerated, but I do kind of have to agree with people, the proportions were quite ridiculous. But I don't know, I love what I do, and I love playing with proportions and scale. I understand there's some like argument that, oh, you have to like learn the rules properly so you can break them. That's what people say about, you know, like anatomy and shading and all that stuff, and I get it, but also that's boring and I don't want to do it. Every single month I tell myself, like, oh, I'm gonna like take proper steps to improve. I'm gonna like enroll in an online course, and I'm gonna spend the month drawing nothing but men because I can't draw men worth a damn, and I'm like gonna study anatomy, and then I don't want to do that, because why would I choose to sit in a classroom or on my computer and watch studies and lessons that are boring when I could just do the artwork? I'm not saying you should do that, because it is important to like know those things, but I just want to know them without having to learn them, you know? I just want to have them already like embedded in my brain, and that's not how the world works, unfortunately. Anyway, I feel like I haven't even talked about this piece. I say one thing and then I go on a tangent, but whatever. This footage is this is a long video, so we can deal with some tangents. Anyway, currently I'm doing line art. As you probably noticed, I already came into this video with the sketch completed. That is because it takes me like 2 hours to sketch, and I didn't want you to have to sit through that. It's also embarrassing. Maybe one day I'll have the confidence to come in here with like a blank sheet of paper, or, you know, like an empty file, but you know, not today, because that is like so embarrassing. But yeah, we're doing line art right now. I'm trying to not experiment, because I've done it before and I know it's something I like, but I'm trying to go back to doing weighted lines, because I feel like 2 months ago I just like stopped doing them, because I was like, oh, I just want like more of a uniform look. I don't. It looks ugly, at least from me. It looks really like cheap, and like I don't know what I'm doing, which for the most part I don't, but you know, you gotta pretend that you do. These lips that I'm currently like lining, they took forever. Like I said, I'm used to just like the neutral face expression. I wanted this girl to be smiling. I scrolled through Pinterest for like 20 minutes trying to find like a lip shape to draw after. I could not do it. And I'm still not 1,000% with how these look. I feel like they kind of look weird. But I had to slap something on there. So I was just like, this is gonna have to do. And I can only hope that it looks decent by the end of it, which, you know, I think it could look worse. So that's gotta count for something. Okay, as to not talk your ear off, I'm going to just let you vibe to the music and the video, and I will cut back in when I actually have something important to say. I finished the rest of the liner off camera just because it was kind of like weird, the position I was in for recording. And I had been recording for like 20 minutes, not even 20 minutes, like 40 minutes. So I was like, I'm just gonna turn this camera off, finish the rest of the hair, adjust what I need to adjust, and I will come back. But yeah, here's me starting the coloring process. I'm going in with the lasso tool, the selection tool, and I'm just selecting all the parts that I want to color in. And I know it looks like I'm coloring anyway, so it's like, why couldn't you just color like by hand instead of using the lasso tool? And it's because I'm also using it for shading, and I shade on a different layer. So this just makes sure everything stays where it's supposed to be, and it's a whole lot easier. Especially, I know you can compare it to like using the clipping tool, but the clipping tool for me only really works when it comes to like details, like adding like glitter or, you know, like an overlay. This is just easier for me. So the way that I color and shade skin is basically I pick a base color. For this case, it was going to be orange because I wanted this skin to be more of an orange tone. I wanted to think sort of like a light-skinned black woman or someone who was mixed with black, something like that. And up until about 5 months ago, I used to just use the darker color, like the darker shade of the base color. However, I learned that you shouldn't do that, and you should instead go in with a blush tone or an undertone, something like red, pink, yellow in some cases, purple. And it changed my life. I look at art in a completely different way. Like, I'm not being dramatic. It looks 10 times better. Like, people sometimes would say, like, my art, like, oh, your characters look kind of like ashy. And I was like, what are you talking about? And now I see, like, they had no blood under their skin. So it's something I highly recommend if you're like, why does my art look kind of pale? Or like, you know, maybe you're thinking your art looks ashy. I think it works really well. And it's kind of shocked. I was kind of shocked by it. So after I go in with that shading, I then lower the opacity. It depends on the piece, but I lower it to anywhere from like 30 to 50%. Then I go in and I smooth everything out with the blur tool just to give kind of that blush effect. I don't do this everywhere, especially in places where the shading would be really dark or really close, like directly under the neck. Sometimes I just leave that as is. And then I go in with the multiply tool on the second layer just to darken anywhere that I need like really shaded, like under the neck, sometimes directly over where the hair falls, you know, armpits, breast, things like that. The hair was kind of giving me some trouble because in my mind I knew what color I wanted it to be, but like every time I tried a color similar to that, it just looked weird. I wanted like kind of a toffee caramel color, like a hazelnut color kind of, and it just wasn't working. It looked really weird. This one kind of looks good, but like every time I would stare at it, I was like, this just doesn't look right. So I went something more red toned, and that still didn't work until I like darkened it enough. And then I was like finally satisfied enough to keep on going. But yeah, you know, sometimes things don't work out how you plan, and that's okay. I went in and made the roots darker as I wanted this to have a bit more of like a natural feel, not a realistic feel. Clearly that's not going to happen with my art style, but I wanted to just go in and change the roots to be a bit darker, as well as shading the hair. Like I said, this is one of my first times really doing like, I don't really know what to call that, just like clumps, like big sections of hair. So I wanted to go in and shade those and just make sure everything looked like it had depth, and added a bit more, you know, like depth and interesting dynamic to the piece. The eyes were actually really difficult. It was hard to place them. I had to do the pupils off camera because just like placing them down in the correct spot so it didn't look like she was derpy hooves was like almost impossible. It took like 15 minutes, so I just had to turn off the camera and do that by myself. But yeah, I did her eyes and then I shaded them and I gave her my signature pie eyes. I've been doing pie eyes for about 3 years now. I don't know why. Occasionally I do go back to just like dots or like just like a slash cash light, but I've been doing pie eyes for a while. It's just what feels the most natural to me. I feel like it looks the most, I don't know, it just looks the best in my style. Maybe I should like look up different ways to do them because it is so like outdated, but I don't know, I think it looks cute. For shading on fabric like jeans and, you know, just clothes in general, I don't really have much advice. I don't have much to say when it comes to like my method or my process. I kind of just, I don't know, I kind of guess I just go logically. It's, you know, I think the most important thing is knowing where your light source is. For this piece, the light source was coming from the front and from the right. And so I just made sure to make sure all the shading was on the left or behind something. Like her knee, like her like calf is in front of her thigh. So I made sure to shade her thigh. And, you know, just logic places, you know, closest to the ground. Obviously your leg is like a cylinder, so you should shade the curves. Just kind of stuff like that. At this point, I'd been filming for so long and I'd had so much footage that my phone was completely out of storage. So I just had to screen record this on my drawing tablet. But you know, that's fine. This is, we're gonna keep on keeping on. So at this moment, I'm doing this really cool trick I learned a few months ago to add texture to a piece, and I thought it would be perfect for the jeans. And it's to go in, add gray to your selected area. In this case, I added like a desaturated denim blue, and then I colored that in. I went to the noise setting on the effects, and I added the perfect amount to me to look like denim. And then I just added the overlay effect, and it looks perfect. I was testing it out on the pants, and then I went on to do that same thing to the top. And I'm just, you know, about now, I'm just gonna add the finishing touches. Now I'm going ahead and I'm shading the line art, I'm coloring the line art. I do it two different ways. So for the hair, I just go in with the darker color of the color I'm using. So if I'm using blonde, I'll just go in with a darker blonde. And then for the skin, I go in and I use that blush tone that I used to shade it. And I just do that around the skin. It looks much better. It pops out more. But yeah, this is just a really simple process. You just alpha lock the layer, and then you go in and you color all the line art. Now I'm going in and doing my favorite part of any piece, which is the highlights. I love to do the After Effect highlights. I just think it pulls everything together. It's beautiful. I've always been someone who loves taking like photos of everything when like it's golden hour and like the lights just hitting that like warm glow. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So I'm just going in with the overlay effect, I believe. I could be wrong. With a very light orange, and I'm just brushing everything. Like I said, I wanted this light to be hitting from the right, so I'm making sure to hit everything on the right side. And like I said, much with shading fabric, there's not much I can tell you to help you other than, just making sure you know where your light source is coming from, because that's going to help you. The light's coming from the left, and just remember the shapes of everything. Like your head is spherical, your arms, your legs, those are cylindrical, so things have curves. So you want to make sure things like your cheek and like the bridge of your nose, the sides of your hair, your pants, your arms, all of that is curving. So you want to make sure to get those parts and highlight them. I feel like I'm explaining this really weirdly, but just watch the footage and you'll understand.